All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming out. I want to thank Nachand, a.k.a. Nay, and Bates Community Development Corporation for hosting us here today. The One Louisville COVID-19 Response Fund was created to support the outstanding work of organizations like this one. And today, the Bates Community Development Corporation is going to prepare and serve more than 300 meals today. For hungry people, not just from around Shelby Park and Smoketown, but to people from all over the city and beyond, southern Indiana, Bullitt County. Anybody that needs a good meal knows that they can get one right here. So they're also serving kids here for summer camp, and they've got a community garden as well. And it's the work that happens every day before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic that helps us with our reputation as a compassionate city. There's no questions that we're having challenges right now in our city and cities all over America, and there's pain that we've got to work through as a community and as a country, but the important thing is that we keep moving forward, and I believe that compassion has never been more important. We define compassion as respecting everyone so that their full human potential is flourishing. The marches in our city, the marches in our country are very much about this value of compassion. People are feeling that their full human potential is not flourishing. So we have to lean into that more than we ever have before to transform our country into a place where everybody feels they have a bright and hopeful future. And that's what we're all about here in Louisville, and I know that's what we're all about also here at Bates CDC. And that's why I'm happy that the One Louisville COVID-19 Response Fund has been able to support this organization and 179 other nonprofits through the generosity of individual donors, as well as organizations like the James Graham Brown Foundation, Humana, LG&E KU Foundation, Brown-Forman, UPS, the Community Foundation of Louisville, and many others. I think that's a phenomenal thing to reflect on, that 179 organizations have been helped so far by the One Louisville Fund, which was just started some 4 months ago to help us get through this pandemic. We launched the fund on March the 18th, only days after the COVID closings began here, because we knew that the sudden loss of jobs was going to produce a tremendous need amongst the people of our city. My Metro government team and I worked with individual donors, businesses, and philanthropic partners to find a way to meet the urgent need so many Louisvillians were facing when the pandemic first struck our city. And in a challenging time, the One Louisville Fund has been inspiring as people have come together, donating anywhere from $10 to $1 million. And altogether, the fund has raised a whopping $11 million. And through our Department of Resilience and Community Services, we've used some of those donations to support more than 2,400 households, providing funds for food, rent, utilities, transportation, and other needs. That is a phenomenal response by our community to raise the money and then help some 2,400 individuals and then almost 200 nonprofits in the community as well as we work our way through this pandemic. From the beginning, we also knew that we needed to find ways beyond individuals to support our vibrant nonprofits who've seen their funding drastically reduced as a result of COVID-19, and because the work that they do obviously is integral to who we are as a community and what we need as a community. And so today, I'm excited to announce the latest round of nonprofit grantees from the One Louisville COVID-19 Response Fund. For this round of grants, the One Louisville Fund wanted to respond to the calls for racial justice that we're hearing in our community in more than 2,000 cities and towns all across America. And that's why I'm hopeful that this will be a time for change, long overdue change. This is a national cry. The latest organizations to receive grants not only do outstanding community work, they also either have exemplary African American leadership or the organization makes a point of serving the African American community, or both. And I'm pleased to say this is a long list, which just underscores how blessed we are by an abundance of compassionate organizations serving the people of our city. So bear with me as I read the list, It's a long list, but each one of these organizations does just incredible work. So we'll go alphabetically. A&L's Level Women, that's in loving memory of April Lowe and Lydia Benson. The Academy of Music Production, Education, and Development, fondly known as AMPT. Active Heroes, Actors Theater of Louisville, Art Thrust, the Bale Project Louisville, Bates Community Development Corporation, Blessings in a Backpack, the Louisville chapter, Bridge Kids International, Change Today, Change Tomorrow, Cities United, Evolve 502, the First Tee of Louisville, Inside the Lines Training, Lanita Rock Nets, the Kentucky Chess Ambassadors, Life Development Corporation, Lighthouse Academy at Newburgh, Lincoln Foundation, Loaves and Fishes, the Louisville Urban League, Molo Village Community Development Corporation, Peace Education Program, Play Cousins Collective, River City Drum Corps, Smoketown Family Wellness Center, Sowing Seeds with Faith, and the West Louisville Performing Arts Academy. So a big congratulations to all of our grantees and a huge thanks to the donors, businesses, and philanthropic partners that have stepped up to help meet the community need caused by COVID-19. Special shout out to Bates Community Development Corporation, and I want to say that we want to hear from their great executive director, Nachand Trabue, also known as Nay. Bring it, Nay.
I'm a little short. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the City of Louisville, the mayor, as well as the One Louisville Advisory Fund. We wouldn't be able to continue to do a lot of the work that we do, especially throughout this pandemic and this crisis that we're fighting around, fighting for justice, if we didn't have this amazing fund that said, hey, we believe in you all and we want to help you all so that you all could continue to help the community. We service average anywhere from 10,000 plus people a year. Our numbers have went up 35% throughout this pandemic and COVID crisis. So we're servicing people from young adults, we're servicing youth, we're servicing single moms, families, we're servicing people who have lost jobs, who have lost income, lost family members. They are from all over the city of Louisville and southern Indiana, like the mayor has stated, they from all over. Our doors are open. Anyone who comes and needs anything around food, nutrition, health and wellness, and then we have a stellar youth program too as well that we are actually having as we speak. So we have to be able to fill the gap. There's so much that has been lost, and we have to be able to come in and fill the gap to be able to help and build sustainability within our community. Once again, we are in a crisis here in the city, in the world. It's a global crisis, but we have to come together so that we could better be able to be what is really what it's all about when you say community. When you say a compassionate community, compassionate city, that's what it's going to take for everyone to do their part. We wouldn't be able to do this alone. We needed everyone to step up to help us. And then when this pandemic, because it's not over, and it may not be over. We don't know when it's going to be over, but we're still going to continue to need you all's help, to be able so that we could continue to do our part. We're just one small entity, but we do a very impactful service and programming here at Bates Community Development Corporation. We are rich with a lot of great rich in a lot of great programs that we do here, and we are actually origin out of Smoketown, which is the first African American community in Louisville. So we have been underserved. We have been not been able to have the resources that we need for many years, and now it's the time for people to come together so that we could continue to change one person at a time, and that's what it's going to take, all of us to come together through the One Louisville Fund and then continuing on. Thank you all so much.
All right, next up to speak is Cassandra Miller. Cassandra is part of our Resilience and Community Services team and helps the people of Louisville each and every day. Cassandra.
I'm really privileged to be here today, and I'm glad to be on this side of the pandemic versus when it first hit. I don't remember, at least in my lifetime, being a part of a pandemic where we had so many people in crisis at the same time and trying to serve everybody to the best that we could do at the same time. So with that, to the Community Foundation, the donors of the One Louisville Fund, the mayor, on behalf of Neighborhood Place, I just want to say thank you for trusting us to be the vehicle to assist our community during these very difficult times. Since we began serving families in mid-March, like the mayor said, we've had the pleasure of serving a little more than 2,500 unduplicated households with things like rent, utilities, childcare, transportation assistance, and food. I will say that for many of these households, these were people who were seeking social services for the very first time. That can bring a lot of uncertainty, some fear, some anxiety. And we tried to put together a program to help minimize some of those fears. We put together a program that would meet the needs of the community without causing additional stress with lots of paperwork and lots of eligibility determination. We did too have to balance that with ensuring that we protected the integrity of the funds as well as the donors in terms of how they wanted the funds to be used. And I do believe that we did a really good job in doing that. I will say this in closing, that there were a lot of tears shed from people who were seeking services for the very first time. Again, when they knocked on our doors, they was unsure of what the response was going to be. So there was tears, there was lots of expressions of gratitude, and that is something that not only does the people who are seeking services appreciate, but also when staff are put in a position to really make a difference in the lives of people, it really is fulfilling there as well. In closing, one of the notes that we received, and we had several thank you notes that came into our department, but one of the thank you notes that came from a woman. Again, she was someone who was seeking services for the very first time. And in her note, she said, when I called Neighborhood Place and someone answered the phone, I had a piercing in my throat. And her note went on to just say more just expressions of thank you and gratitude and such. But she closed it out and she said, it is always good to know that when I'm going through my storm, that there is someone to help deliver me from my storm. And what she meant by that was just the folks that was, there to help service her and help her through that. And for that, made my heart full, as well as the staff. And I just want to, again, say thank you for the opportunity to be able to service that many families in a very short period of time. So thank you.
Thanks, Cassandra. Thanks, Nay. Stories like that, it's unfortunate they have to be told, but it does show the importance of having generous people in the community, having a great resilience and community services team, Neighborhood Place, community development corporations like Nay's. So that's what it takes to build a community, everybody coming together to do their part. Just before we go off this part of our briefing here this morning, I just want to really emphasize to the people of Louisville that this pandemic is still out there. And obviously we're seeing a massive resurgence or a spike in Florida, Texas, through most of the South and the Southwest. Our numbers have been holding pretty steady here, so we have been fortunate. But this can change in like 5 days. And so one of the big areas of the spike, the source of the spike in the South and Southwest has been at bars that are opening up, people not practicing social distancing. So we still want to remind everybody, while we're not in kind of the stay-at-home mode that we were, if you don't need to be going out around other people, it's a good idea for your health and the health of others not to do that. If you do go out, keep your social distancing. And obviously we know that if you're outside, the risk of transmission of the disease is much, much lower. So our country is far from out of the woods on this. So hopefully we'll be able to keep doing the good job that we have been doing in Louisville so far in terms of keeping this pandemic in check. So just everybody, please keep that top of mind. This One Louisville Fund is going to remain a part of our nonprofit ecosystem, but we're going to pause fundraising at this point and defer to our more established partners in the community like the Metro United Way and the Fund for the Arts and others who have their own fundraising campaigns underway. And they, along with the Center for Nonprofit Excellence and others, have been super outstanding partners and integral to the success of the One Louisville Fund over the last 3 months. And nonprofits and philanthropy will continue to take the lead so they can do the critical work that they've been doing literally for decades to uplift and build a stronger social impact sector here in our city. And what all of this is going to exactly look like in the end is still under discussion, and we'll have more to say on that at a later date. But we do know that the lessons we've learned over the last 3.5 months through the One Louisville Fund will be ones that will help us support and strengthen our nonprofit community for years to come, and that's great news for the people of Louisville. So, Nay, again, thank you so much to Bates and CDC. Cassandra, amazing job at Resilience and Community Services in the Neighborhood Place, and we're going to keep helping people. That's what we're put on the face of the earth to do. With that, we'll be happy to take any questions. Yeah, the $11 million that's raised has been almost all distributed now. So it's pausing right now and discontinuing its fundraising efforts. So focus can be on Metro United Way and other organizations that are in the process of doing their fundraising.
To the point of the plateau, how concerning is it to yourself in the city that Kentucky is on a plateau and numbers aren't falling? Is it a concern that's going to start inching back up again?
I'm very concerned when you look at some states to the south and southwest of here and you see, massive spikes taking place. Now, those states did not kind of have the responsible steps that we took as a state and as a city very early on. Did not take this pandemic as seriously as we did. So I'm hoping those lessons stay with us so we can just kind of keep on this plateau that we're on right now until there's a vaccine. We pray that's going to come quickly, but the only way we can stay on the plateau is for people to continue to practice social distancing, wear face masks when they're out in the public as well. So our success will be determined by our people, and so far we're doing a good job.
Is there a possibility of restart?
Yeah. No, that's Travis. That's a great question. I hope we don't have to restart the One Louisville Fund. If we maintain what we're doing as a city right now, obviously that will not be a requirement. There's a couple things that are really critical right now in terms of funding. One is going to be the response from the U.S. Senate in terms of direct aid to cities and states to keep our governments intact, to deliver the basic services that our city needs so that the economic rebirth can happen in the community as well. That's probably the biggest material issue in terms of the amount of money that can come to the city that can help us. Philanthropy obviously fits in or fills in those needs, but isn't nearly the scope as what can happen from the federal government.
Not directly related, but tangentially, is there any kind of plan the Metro government has right now for mass immunizations, or is something that you're working on when there is
Yeah, our biggest focus right now obviously is testing in the right spots so that we understand where there's many hot spots in the community, how we can work with that to detect what type of positivity rates that we have, and then make sure our contact tracing capacity is such that we can box in this virus so it doesn't spread further. So those are the focus areas today. In terms of when the vaccine comes, where and when it's distributed will be important. To me, it's going to be important that its priorities will be in the areas of our community that have been most impacted, that are most at risk. These have been our African American communities. The death rate, total death rate, as a percentage, is we have about 30% of our deaths happening in our black community, while they represent 22 to 23% of our overall population as a city. So where there's kind of inequity like that, we got to make sure those areas are priorities for vaccinations.
What's your reaction to the so-called blue flu that supposedly happened yesterday? The number of LMPD officers that called in sick, and we're also hearing that several detectives have called in sick.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration in the city right now. There's a lot of frustration in cities all over America right now, from protesters, from police officers, where everybody sees like they're almost in a situation that's like hard. How do you move through that? From a protester standpoint, you know, how do you move from where America is today with unequal opportunity, and how does that happen like that? From a police officer's standpoint, it's how do we protect people's right to protest, the First Amendment, while they're under very difficult situations and under dangerous situations, and more people are open carrying their weapons around the street right now. So I get the frustration. What I ask is for everybody to say, okay, this is hard. We all get that, not just here in Louisville, but all over the country. So how do we come to the table to say, here's where we're at today, and then how do we move forward? I mean, ultimately, that's what we need from everybody, is leadership. And you don't have to be in a so-called position of leadership to exert that. You've got to say, okay, I own part of this community too. So my voice is going to be heard in a constructive way. Whether you're a protester, whether you're an elected official, whether you're a police officer, that's what we're looking for.
Do you have numbers on how many yesterday, today?
I don't have them on me right now. I mean, I know it's an issue that's taking place that our police department is working through. Various leaders within our police department are talking to those that feel like not showing up for work is a good thing, and trying to look at a bigger picture here.
Has your interim chief given you any indication on how he feels about people?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, this is, again, a time where you have to have empathy for everybody in terms of what their situation is. But at the end of the day, a police officer signs up to serve and protect the community. And we need them in good times, in bad times, easy times, hard times. We need them to be effective policing with the community. We need the community to also engage with them, so you have police community trust, which is obviously strained here in Louisville and all over the country right now. But the way to achieve that is not for everybody to go in their corner, right? It's to come back together. And it's hard right now. So I don't want to minimize the difficulty or the challenge, but we've got to come together to move through this.
Do you have an approximate number on the final distribution of money through One Louisville?
About $11 million.
Money for this last burst, or is that the total?
That's the total. This last tranche, do we have that? I mean, it's in the $1 million plus rate, but we can get that to you. Thank you. I should know that. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you all for showing up today. Stay safe. I know you all have got a really difficult job right now as well. Take care.